Welcome everyone to the Continental Club Friday's live video. Today we're going to be making a rolling cork organizer. I will wait a little bit to see if more of you join, and I'm so excited that you can join us today on this live session. Tell us where you're from, how you're doing today. I hope you're all doing well. If you have any questions at the end of the session, I will go through and answer those as best as I can. Welcome. So we are working with cork and vinyl today. I have a few tips and tricks on what works well. Cork comes in so many colors and just beautiful textures. So let us know where you guys are from, how you're doing today, and how exciting it is to be using the Continental M17. I think it's the best machine in the market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera to the project and take the focus off of me so we can see what we're working with. So just bear with me for one moment. And for those that don't know, my name is Maday, and I will be your host for the next hour. Welcome everyone. Here is our beautiful M17 Continental, the best machine ever. Right now I have the HP foot. Welcome everyone. The HP foot and the HP plate. That is the high precision foot and plate. And here she is. Before we get started, I want to go through some of the materials that I used. And I have a picture that I will post later so that you can see everything that I have used. I have the HP foot and plate. Rotary cutter is what I used. A ruler, a mat. I have we're actually working with zippers as well, so I'm going to show you how to make a pocket. You can use this with vinyl or fabric. I have a rose gold zipper. It's 8 inches. It's actually 9 inches, but the actual zipper space is 8. The vinyl piece that I'm using is by a wonderful artist. She has this on her website. It's So Hungry Hippie, and she's on Instagram as well. I figure that if I'm going to use vinyl, I'm going to make it count. It has just beautiful stars and sparkly, and it just makes me smile. The cork fabric that I'm using is 23 by 14 if I'm folding the edges, or 21 by 11 if I am not. I have a rose gold swivel hook for the hardware, and I really love it because I want to hang my organizer on the outside of my backpack. My backpack, as it is full of items, so I want to maximize the space that I have available. I have a Clover quick bias fusible bias tape is 1/4, and that really allows us to finish the edges so that you don't have to do traditional binding. I have 3 strips, 1.5 by 9 of fabric, so they're really thin strips, and that will go for the edge of my vinyl and also the edge of the zipper, just to give it a really nice finished look. And look at that beautiful rose gold. I'm going to show you that One of the organizers that I made doesn't have a finish lined inside, but I wanted to try to do something a little just more beautiful and clean and aesthetically pleasing. So I used 50 2.5-inch squares. That's optional for the liner. I sewed 5 rows of 10, and then at the end it measured about 20 3/4 by 10.5 inches. So I'm going to walk you right through the first one that I made, and then we're going to make the other one together, or at least I have the pieces to show you how to assemble it. If you have any questions, I truly love what I do. I want everyone to have great success. So if you have any questions, put it in the comments, and I am a one-woman show, so I will answer these after the live, okay? If you want to catch my adventures, my website is sustainabletextiledesign.com, and that is the same name for my Facebook page. I am a Janome artisan, and I have been sewing with Janome for over 11 years, and that's when I taught myself how to sew. So this is what I was talking about, using the fusible bias. It's just a really nice way to finish the edges for this project. It actually has paper on the back, so you peel the paper, it sort of glues very lightly, and then you can stitch it. Okay, I'm going to show you my organizer that I made. I'm waiting for the insert table, so if you see this looks a little bit different, it's because I'm waiting for the acrylic insert to cover that area really nicely. This table specifically made for the M17 machine, and it fits really nice in there. Of course, when you do embroidery work, you do have to remove it from this table and put it on a flat surface. We're not going to do embroidery today, but I want to show you. This says Joyful Living. It's a built-in design. I did add the text just because I was inspired, but before you start working on making the organizer, you can always use your embroidery machine, which is right here on the M17, and then over here it says Walk in Love. So as I close it, I have these beautiful designs visible from the outside. So I'm going to show you the inside here. For this design, I actually used a sticky wash away stabilizer, so I wouldn't have to hoop cork, because as you know, cork can be a little bit stiff. So I used the sulky wash away sticky stabilizer. And when I was done, I'm not truly happy with it, but when I was done, I lightly moistened the back area so that I could remove the stabilizer. Then for the second embroidery design that I did, I actually hooped it. So you have to be very careful when you hoop it, because you don't want to break your hoop, but it's possible to hoop it and not use sticky wash away to do your embroidery. This is a little piece of felt. Because it is an organizer, I want to make sure that I have everything that I need at my fingertips. Welcome everyone. Sending you all a warm hug. I live in Wisconsin, so it's a little bit chilly today. So this is just felt, and it really stitched beautifully. I have no complaints. Everything went really well. I finished the edge by folding the edges, and I gave you the measurements if you would like to do that. And then I also made a pocket where I can see everything through. I'm really happy with that as well. But I want to show you this. So this is an envelope. It's attached. It has a working zipper. You probably already know how to install the zipper, but we're going to go through this technique. It's very easy. I have my favorite little clips. Keeps everything together without messy pins. But I also left this unsewn, so I can put in here, I can put a template, a paper pattern, some notes, pen and paper if I don't know exactly what I'm going to use it for. So I really left this open so that I have the flexibility to go any way that I need. This is my rose gold swivel hook. This is what I'm going to use to connect it to my backpack. I love that. You don't have to do it, it's completely optional, but I do love how that turned out. And then in here, we have an envelope, and I'm going to show you. This technique would also work if you're doing a fabric envelope, but I think it's a lot nicer because you can see right through it. So this is, I'm going to remove this so that you can see it. This is the vinyl piece that I'm using, and I have the measurements. It can actually be any size that you need as long as your zipper is the same length. So right here I have 9 inches by 6, and I did give it a nice finish edge, and to achieve this is a 1.5 inch strip by the length of your vinyl. And then I'm going to show you this is the color that I chose for my second piece that I'm going to be showing you today. This is the color of the first one that I made, and it's very flexible. Obviously I don't have all of my stuff in here, but how many of you have worked with cork before? And then here's my swivel hook, and I can actually hang it from almost anything that has a hook or some sort of like fabric handle, like backpacks do. So for this one, I wanted to have a different look, a more finished look, so that you don't have to stare at this black finish. I use 50 2.5 inch squares, or you can use simply just a flat piece of fabric. Let me see if I can see so you can see the whole thing. And this is what I wanted to show you. This is the quick bias. It is a 1/4 inch. Of course, you can use it in stained glass quilting, applique work, but I used it to finish the edges of this cloth panel, this patchwork panel. And then you don't have any raw edges, and then you don't have to fold any of this fabric back onto the liner. So very happy with this. The liner is just slightly shorter than my cork piece. I didn't want a whole bunch of additional space. And these are zipper tabs. They're 1.5 by 1.25. So I folded it in half, and I have one here to show you. I folded it in half, and then I folded it in half onto itself here in the middle, then fold it again, and you have nice edges. Okay? Using the 1/4 inch, the HP, I have one of each side finished, so I'm just going to show you real quick how I get that done. And I did use the reverse. I'm going to trim this, and then I'm going to trim it flush with the zipper. I have clips holding this side, so again it's 1.5 inches by 9. And I love using the HP foot. It's my favorite foot to use for anything. I use it for zipper installation. I use it for cork. I use it to take in if my pants are too loose around the waist. Sometimes I get ahead of my... So I want to show you... I'm going to have the automatic presser foot lifter installed so that it... And every time that you stop sewing, this feature will bring up the foot. It's one of my all-time favorites. The 9450 has it as well. And I'm going to go all the way to the end and reinforce the stitch. And it looks beautiful, functional. So if you're afraid about installing zippers, I think that this is one of the best ways to do it. When you're sewing fabric and vinyl together, I know that there are fancy feet that you can use for this, but I like to use what I have. If I don't have to change my feet often, I prefer not to do it. So to make this envelope, we're going to place the lower side of the zipper on the vinyl. And so just so that I have enough visibility, I'm going to move that. I'd like to put it right on top of this, and I'm going to sew on this side of it so that the feed dogs have the fabric and not the vinyl. And let's see how well I match this up. The HP foot just makes it so nice. You can see everything you're doing. It's a very narrow foot, so you can get really close to the seams. I'm going to move this to the other side. It's no problem. It's not getting hung up. I'm happy with it. I should have put the pink thread down here, but overall I'm happy with it. And once we start using it, it's not even that visible. So here is our finished pocket. You can always cut down the vinyl once you're sure that everything measures just right and that there are no shifting, because when you sew vinyl and fabric, some shifting is just natural. So I have placed my patchwork, I guess it's a patchwork mat, if you will. It's not, it's unfinished, but I finished the edges with the quick bias tape, 1/4 inch, and it's paper backed. So need to figure out where I would like to place my envelope, and I know it's kind of hard to see it because it's a light color, so I'm going to put this behind it so that you can see the placement of it, and I will remove it before I stitch. Let me make sure that I put this in here so that the video... And then we're going to stitch it down. And we're going to stitch down through all sides. So one of the reasons that I have this dark brown thread that I was showing you here is so that it matches this cork. Having the stitches come through is inevitable, but at least it will match well so that if there's a boo-boo or something doesn't look just right, at least the thread matches. All right. right, and now we get to stitch this envelope that we made. We stitch it down. Let's see how that works. And we're gonna go through all the layers, making sure that everything is lined up, that my patchwork mat is actually in the center where we want it. I'm just gonna stitch down, and I'm going to try to follow the yellow marking that I have here from when I sewed my tape to the vinyl. I'm using a 2.4 stitch length for this exercise. I love this machine. I actually gave her a name, and her name is Macy. I have heard that a lot of people have named their machines. I'm going to sew on reverse just to tack it down, and let's see how it looks on the other side. I think I matched the thread pretty good. You can hardly see it on the organizer. I will be clipping the little yellow that shows from the front fabric. So I'm very happy with the stitch quality, which is one of the things that I love about this machine. There's no disappointment. So I don't like having this edge unfinished. It's right here, right? I mean, it's plastic, nobody would see it, but I see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I use the bias tape. It's silver, there's gold. I'm sure that there's more colors available. Simply remove the little piece of paper. And what I love about this is finishing with facing instead of having to use the traditional binding, which there's no problem with that. But I'm going to show you how quickly this goes down. It looks beautiful. And I'm just going to go up to my zipper tab. I'm not going to go beyond that because everything in there looks pretty good, pretty finished and beautiful. So let's see how this does. No problem sewing. And it just has enough little glue to give you the confidence to stitch right through it. I am not a fast sewer, which is, I think is good. I never want to break anything. And I'm going to reverse and stop right before the zipper tab. I am very happy with it. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. I want to have something that I can use that I don't feel bad dragging with me to shows or meetings or something like that. So it can be something for sewing, it can be for knitting, it can be for anything that you want to keep organized. So again, removing the paper. It just glues, is very temporary, so you cannot leave it unsewn. But the beautiful part of it is that it finishes your edges and you will have a clean look to your organizer. I'm going to make sure that I'm not cutting that fabric. I hope you guys are doing really well today. I'm very grateful that you're here, and I think we'll have another project for March. I'd like to keep everything, my sewing, my house, everything organized. So here we go. We can do the reverse just to make sure. It's a nice feature, especially with this machine. I love the sparkles on this vinyl, but you can use any vinyl that you have around. And I'm going to sew backwards, just on that reverse. And ta-da, we have a functional, super cute working envelope, right? So obviously we want to stitch this down at least here. But if we stitch it then we cannot use it as an envelope. So we will stitch over here on the edges. So let's do that right now so that you can see it. And I'm gonna do the reverse and then cut. Again, I'm gonna cut all these little yellow things that pop from the front. But other than that, matching the thread to your cork really helps in not seeing unsightly thread show through. So matching as much as possible, coordinating the color of your thread to the cork always helps. There are so many different colors right now available for cork. It's really a joy to work with. So I'm going to do the other side, and I'm going to go in reverse. I'm going to cut that. So again, it doesn't quite work like I did with the first one, so I have to stitch this down. I'm going to use the same stitching line that I did before. Being very careful that you don't stitch through the metal, of course. Beautiful. And now we have our wonderful envelope. So let's start putting some things in here so that you can see how that works. I have my clips. I have my tiny scissors. My machine screw. So this is the first part of it. I want to show you for the front. I'm going to cut these little things later on after the live. So you shouldn't really see anything unsightly on the front of your cork organizer. I still have to secure this down, but instead of having multiple seams, I'm going to wait until I have the pockets that I want to place here, and they will be either cork or vinyl, or they could be even fabric pockets. So here, this one is 4 inches by 9. So if you want to have that here, you can actually place it close to the edge. So that's the beauty of it. You get to decide where you want the placement to be. I think this looks good to me. You can also create additional pockets that are made of vinyl so that you can see everything right through. But what I wanted to show you the most is how to create this working pocket that you place right on top of the mat, or you can place it just like I did here. So for those that join us later, I had a little heart, and this is made out of felt. This is another envelope for storing whatever you like, whatever fits. And then I created out of the 4 by 9 piece, I created 2 separate pockets. This one doesn't feature a lining, but I wanted to give you the option to dress it up a little bit. I did finish the edges by folding the cork. I folded the cork for the bottom section about half an inch. And I did the same thing to the sides. So in here, what I did was, because I had created an independent pocket, The back of my pocket is actually made out of cork. So it was a complete pocket before I attached it to the cork. What I'm doing with this one is I'm utilizing this beautiful colorful mat that I made patchwork style, and I applied the whole pocket to the mat. So it's different looks. This one gives you a pocket that you can actually, let me see if I can close this. You can actually use the back of it to store paper items or other things that you want to store. And this one doesn't have that flexibility. I mean, I'm going to stitch this down, so I will show you how that would work. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. And I'm going to use the same line that I used before for stitching the bias tape. And I love this clover bias tape. I'm going to make sure that this is as centered as possible. I'm going to remove this here so it doesn't lift it too much when I stitch. When cork came out, I remember being very scared of sewing with it. But when you have a machine that can stitch with it, and it just gives you the confidence that you can try almost anything. And that's how I feel about the Continental M17. The 9450 also has the HP foot, and there's other machines that that you can use, of course, but I love having the HP foot. It just gives me a lot of flexibility and visibility as well. Before I sew on the short edge, I always like to sew the long edges of things so that it doesn't get all folded and bunched together. It's very odd sewing on the left-hand side like this, but hopefully you can see why I'm doing this. Oh, now I'm going too fast. Sewing in real time is a lot slower than seeing a TikTok video, for sure. TikTok videos show you in 3 seconds a project already finished. It's kind of funny. And now we have the whole thing stitched. I will remove all those little things, but for the most part, you can see how matching the color of your thread to the cork is so important. It really gives you a nice, clean finish. I left this unstitched because I'm going to be putting the ties. So another thing I wanted to share is, I don't know if you've been able to see, instead of cutting with a rotary cutter with the stray blade, I actually use a pinking. So you can use pinking shears if you want to cut it with scissors, or you can use the pinking blade that you can put on your 45mm rotary cutter. And it really gives you a nice finish. Obviously, one of the advantages of working with cork is that you don't have to worry about anything fraying. So that is 1000% win. When I put my tie-ins, I'm putting one to face the wrong side of the fabric facing up and the other one facing down. That way, when you're folding, they go in different directions and you can see the right side of the cork. So that's one of the things that I enjoy doing. I put them right on top of each other. don't know how I managed this, but I managed to hurt both of my thumbs in a 2 week. I've never done this, but here we go. I'm going to use the reverse. All right. I can't wait for my acrylic insert to come in. It's going to look a lot better and it's going to be a lot smoother. So here we are. One of the other steps that I'm going to take is I'm going to sew this down. I'm going to follow that bias tape guide, so I have it right on top of that. I want it to look as presentable as possible. And I think I'm going to use this patchwork edge here. Hopefully you're still with me here. Hopefully it's not too boring. I'm just showing you that there's so many beautiful things you can do with cork. I hope you give it a chance. I love the idea that I can pivot by having the presser foot lift by itself. I'm going to do a reverse. I can't wait for you guys to see this finished. We're getting there. Beautiful and straight. At least it looks like it. Going to cut this. Welcome to everyone that has joined us. And now simply I'm going to give it, decide how wide you want your pockets to be. This looks okay to me. I'm going to go back. And then I'm going to reverse. Just because pockets usually get used a lot. And I wasn't quick enough, but obviously this is too big, but you get the idea. The pockets actually work. And I'm going to take the two projects to a bigger area so that you can see it. I can show you some of my supplies. You can make this fancier. You can make it for kids. You can make it for anything. You're traveling. But I want to show you everything laid out in a nicer, bigger platform. And I also want to show you my Macy. I love using my my HP plate and HP foot. I use it for almost anything. I want to show you too. There's a piece back here that I made, and the HP foot is wonderful for sewing curves. So just hang with me here and I will take this to a bigger table to show you. Bear with me as I move. All right. I don't know about you, but I think lining up this organizer looks a lot better than my original one. Obviously, I have a little bit of trimming to do. I love that this panel comes almost edge to edge. I have this to sew, but I don't want to waste any more someone's time, so I will do this later. The pockets are functional. My zipper is functional. And I have my clips in there, and more things sure to join this. I'm going to close it. I will answer all of your questions. We can do embroidery, which is what I'm going to show you from the other one. But I love it. It's really professional looking. You can put your sewing supplies, knitting, anything. You can make the pockets bigger for your traveling. You could actually even put vinyl from front to back. And you can put special garments in there when you go traveling. So the possibilities are endless. Let me show you my first one for those that just joined. So I did the machine embroidery before. I have a place for my pins. I have a clear pocket. I have more cork. I have finished edges in here. I folded back the cork. I use my HP foot for everything. I never put any other foot. But it has a functional pocket back because I put my pocket on top of cork. So it's cork on top of the back of cork, and it gives you the flexibility of having the open pocket. And then this is my swivel hook, so I can hang it on the outside of my backpack. It is functional. You can roll it as tiny or as loose as you want. Interesting to do this one-handed, but you get the idea. And here you have it. You guys decide which one you like best. I think having the line interior looks really beautiful, if I may say so myself. But this one has its own enchantment as well. So you decide which style you like. Whatever you do, remember to be joyful in your creating. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself to make mistakes. And as you go, things will get as perfected as is possible. So thank you so much for watching. I will be answering your questions. I will stay on the live in case you want to ask questions, and I can just verbally answer your questions, or I can type it later. But thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to us. And Janome is a wonderful family, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. So thank you.